Hi everyone, this is Anup from Learn for Turkey. In the last session, we talked about what is GraphQL and how it is different from REST. And in this session, we are going to talk about what is GraphQL.js and why it is important. And we are going to build Hello World using GraphQL.js. So let's begin. So GraphQL.js, I'm on the GitHub page of GraphQL.js. That it states that it is a reference implementation of GraphQL for JavaScript. For different languages, we have different reference implementation. I'm going to talk about GraphQL.js, which is a reference implementation for JavaScript. Now, if you see, this is being created by Facebook. So initially, this is the core GraphQL.js being created by Facebook, and then the community is handling it. Now, at the bottom, if you scroll down a bit, you will see that GraphQL.js can be used both in Node and browser. And also the GraphQL tool, which is the GraphQL client, is also built using the GraphQL.js. So let's understand what GraphQL.js is capable of in a nutshell, and then we will be building Hello World application using GraphQL.js. So let us understand GraphQL from input process output analogy. So I've created a small diagram here to depict that. So in the center, I've shown type definition and resolvers. So these are the two important components of the GraphQL.js or GraphQL, I would say. So you can assume type definitions as equivalent to function declarations and resolvers be equivalent to function definition. So both of these things needs to be created in the GraphQL based application. Either it is a GraphQL.js or Express GraphQL or Apollo server. We always have to create type definition and a corresponding resolvers to make it work. So we have to supply this to a particular function ported by that library. And once we are done with that, then the input will be supplied either directly in the form of GraphQL query, or it can come from the client via HTTP post. So once that input is ingested, the outcome will be given by this application. So let's begin by building Hello World application using GraphQL.js, and we will also do one-to-one mapping of this type definition, resolver, and input with that particular program. So let's begin. Let's start by building Hello World application. So I'm currently sitting in one of the folder GraphQL.js Hello World. This directory is empty. You can create any folder in your local, and then you can get started with. The only requirement is you should have Node.js in your system. So you can search for Node.js for your particular platform and accordingly install your Node.js version. So Node.js. So in my system, I have version 16. So if your version is lesser than that, don't worry about that. It will also be working in that particular version as well. So let's begin. So first of all, we'll be creating a small node project using npm init command, npm init-y. So it will initialize with the package.json file, and then we will be installing the GraphQL.js library. Npm install GraphQL, save it. So it will install the GraphQL library. Then we will be opening the VS Code. Okay, so I have already opened the VS Code. So that will already opening this VS Code on the GraphQL.js Hello World. So you will see that project is present, and the package.json we have installed the GraphQL library, and currently the version is 16.4 is present. So let us begin by creating server.js in this folder GraphQL.js Hello World. So first of all, we need to import functions from GraphQL.js library that will help us build the application. So let us begin. So the first one is GraphQL function and the second one is build schema. So we should be getting it from the GraphQL. Okay. Now then we already talked about we need a type definition and a resolver. So let's begin by creating a type definition. Since we are going to return only the string hello world, so we are actually reading the data. So we need a type of type query. So let's begin by creating this type. Let schema. Schema is basically, it wraps up all the type definitions. So we are going to use this function that will build the schema which is being consumed by the GraphQL. So we are going to use the tilde operator, which will help us write multiple lines. So we need a type query, and here we will be the field name I'm currently choosing as hello. We can choose any name. We can say that we can choose it as message, any name. Okay. So I'm just currently choosing as hello, and since we are going to return a hello world which is of type string, so we will be using the GraphQL type string. So you can compare it, you can actually think of it as a function declaration where the hello is kind of a function name and string is kind of a return type. So first of all, we need to define the type definition, that we are done with that, and then we have to create the resolver. So let's begin by creating the resolver. Root value. So the field name is hello. So the function, whatever we define as part of the resolver, needs to have the same name, hello. And then it is not taking any argument, so the argument block is empty, and we are going to simply return the message, hello world, here. Now we have created the type definition, and also we have created the resolvers. So let us bind them together with the help of GraphQL JS supplied function, that is GraphQL. So what it takes an option, and one of the attribute in this option is schema, and then it will take the root value. So schema represents the type definition and root value represents the resolvers. And then as per the block diagram I've shown earlier to you, that it needs an input, and then it will process that input and finally gives the output. So it will take the input in the form of source. So that input needs to be a GraphQL query. So we will pass in the GraphQL query, which looks like this. Okay, so we are actually want to fetch hello, want to operate hello from this GraphQL query. So we are mentioning it as a hello within that curly braces. So afterwards, it will actually gives us the response in terms of promise. So we'll get that response like this, and we are simply logging it with the help of console.log, that response. Okay. So that's it for this program. So we are done with this program. So we have created the type definition, resolvers, and bind them together with the help of GraphQL function. So let us execute this program with the help of Node. Let's go node server.js. You see the outcome, hello world. So that's how it works. Here we are not using any HTTP API call. We are simply demonstrated the core GraphQL.js library, which is the main library which works under all the other server libraries, whether it is Express, Apollo, etc. So let us understand the implementation with the help of the mapping. Now this is basically the type definition. Okay. And this is the resolver. And this is the input. And finally we have the output. We have seen the diagram. Input, we need a type definition, and we need a resolver. Finally the output will come. This is the GraphQL application. You can say as GraphQL application. So whenever you build a GraphQL application, make sure that you define the types, you create the resolvers, map them together with the help of the corresponding function, and finally when the input arrives, the input will be ingested by this particular function and output will be provided. So this is how the GraphQL works. So in the upcoming session, we are going to talk about the Hello World application using GraphQL, Express GraphQL, and then we will be building the Hello World application using the Apollo server. Thank you so much for watching this. Hope you like it. Please consider subscribing so that you never miss the upcoming videos in this series. Bye bye.